Tirthalion, your YouTube psychic. Card of the day. Readings. Unboxings. Your daily source for things arcane.
Hey, it's Tirthalion, and I do have to give us a warning here. Today we're going to be talking about the Canonical Five, or Jack the Ripper's, the main five victims. We will be discussing their injuries and also looking at their post-mortem or autopsy photos, as well as an artist's depiction of how their corpses were found. So, if this is something that would bother you or trigger you, I do need to ask you to turn off this video. Other than that, sit back and let's learn about the Canonical Five. The Canonical Five Ripper victims are Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. Each of the Canonical Five murders were perpetrated at night on or close to a weekend, either at the end of a month or a week or so after. The mutilations became increasingly severe as the series of murders proceeded, except for that of Stride, whose attacker may have been interrupted. Nichols was not missing any organs. Chapman's uterus and sections of her bladder and vagina were taken. Eddowes had her uterus and left kidney removed, and her face mutilated, and Kelly's body was extensively eviscerated, with her face gashed in all directions, and the tissue of her neck being severed to the bone, although the heart was the sole body organ missing from this crime scene. The body of Mary Ann Nichols was discovered at about 3:40 a.m. on Friday, 31st August 1888, in Bucks Row, now Durward Street in Whitechapel. Nicholas had last been seen alive approximately 1 hour before the discovery of her body by a Mrs. Emily Holland, with whom she had previously shared a bed at a common lodging house in Thrall Street, Spitalfields, walking in the direction of Whitechapel Road. Her throat was severed by 2 deep cuts, one of which completely severed all the tissue down to the vertebra. Her vagina had been stabbed twice, and the lower part of her abdomen was partially ripped open by a deep, jagged wound, causing her bowels to protrude. Several other incisions inflicted to both sides of her abdomen had also been caused by the same knife. Each of these wounds had been inflicted in a downward thrusting manner. 1 week later, on Saturday, 8 September 1888, the body of Annie Chapman was discovered at approximately 6 a.m. near the steps to the doorway of the backyard of 29 Hanbury Street, Spitalfields. As in the case of Mary Ann Nichols, her throat had been severed by 2 deep cuts. Her abdomen had been cut entirely open, with a section of the flesh from her stomach being placed upon her left shoulder, and another section of skin and flesh plus her small intestines being removed and placed above her right shoulder. Chapman's autopsy also revealed that her uterus and sections of her bladder and vagina had been removed. At the inquest into Chapman's murder, Elizabeth Long described having seen Chapman standing outside 29 Hanbury Street at about 5:30 a.m. in the company of a dark-haired man wearing a brown deerstalker hat and dark overcoat, and of a shabby, genteel appearance. According to this eyewitness, the man had asked Chapman the question, "Will you?" to which Chapman replied, "Yes." Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes were both killed in the early morning hours of Sunday, 30 September 1888. Stride's body was discovered at approximately 1 a.m. in Dutfield's yard off Berner Street, now Henriques Street in Whitechapel. The cause of death was a single clear-cut incision measuring 6 inches across her neck, which had severed her left carotid artery and her trachea before terminating beneath her right jaw. The absence of any further mutilations of her body was led to the uncertainty as to whether Stride's murder was committed by the Ripper, or whether he was interrupted during the attack. Several witnesses later informed police that they had seen Stride in the company of a man in or close to Berner Street on the evening of 29 September and in the early morning hours of 30 September. But each gave differing descriptions. Some said that her companion was fair, others dark. Some said that he was shabbily dressed, and others well-dressed. Eddowes' body was found in Mitre Square in the City of London 3/4 of an hour after the discovery of the body of Elizabeth Stride. Her throat was severed and her abdomen ripped open by a long, deep, jagged wound before her intestines had been placed over her right shoulder. Her left kidney and the major part of her uterus had been removed, and her face had been disfigured, with her nose severed, her cheeks slashed, and cuts measuring 1/4 inch and a half, and respectively vertically incised through each of her eyelids. A triangular incision, the apex of which pointed towards Eddowes' eye, had also been carved upon each of her cheeks, and a section of the iris and lobe of her right ear was later recovered from her clothing. The police surgeon who conducted the post-mortem upon Eddowes' body stated his opinion these mutilations would have taken at least 5 minutes to complete. A local cigarette man named Joseph Land had passed through the square with 2 friends shortly before the murder, and he described seeing a fair-haired man of shabby appearance with a woman who may have been Eddowes. Land's companions were unable to confirm his description. The murders of Stride and Eddowes ultimately became known as the double event. A section of Eddowes' bloodied apron was found at the entrance to a tenement in Ghoulston Street, Whitechapel, at 2:55 a.m. A chalk inscription upon the wall directly above this piece of apron read, "The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing." This graffito became known as the Ghoulston Street graffito. The message appeared to imply that a Jew or Jews in general were responsible for the series of murders, but it is unclear whether the graffito was written by the murderer on dropping the section of apron, or was merely incidental and nothing to do with the case. Such graffiti were commonplace in Whitechapel. Police Commissioner Charles Warren feared that the graffito might spark anti-Semitic riots and ordered the writing washed away before the dawn. Okay, I don't know about y'all, but I had to take a break after that one. And the next one coming up is not easy to get through either. So I decided to put a picture of my dog here and just look at her and look how cute and how sweet and how wonderful. And here we go. The extensively mutilated and disemboweled body of Mary Jane Kelly was discovered lying on the bed in the single room where she lived at 13 Miller's Court off Dorset Street, Spitalfields, at 10:45 a.m. on Friday, 9 November 1888. Her face had been, quote, hacked beyond all recognition, end quote, with her throat severed down to the spine and the abdomen almost emptied of its organs. Her uterus, kidneys, and one breast had been placed beneath her head, and the other viscera from her body placed beside her foot, about the bed, and sections of the abdomen and thighs upon a bedside table. The heart was missing from the crime scene. Okay, now that that's over, what we'll be doing next is the next video we will be looking into the investigation and the letters that were sent to investigators because even back in the 1800s, the serial killers did like to play with the cops as well. So we'll look into those and delve a little bit deeper into the investigation. If you made it through this video, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my content because the next video will be dropping on Friday. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good evening.
Thanks for watching today's video. Don't forget to subscribe to my content and like this video. Want more? Feel free to order your own personal reading at www.tirthalion.com. That's tirthalion.com. Don't forget to click the bell icon so that you're notified every time I upload a video.